Deep shot. He's got a touchdown.
And Mahomes at bay.
The Tampa Bay Bucks, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome to the Bucks Banter podcast. I am your host, as always, Collin Hallboom, and I am joined by both of my esteemed colleagues and co-hosts. We got Bodan Yard at Bono's Ball on Twitter and Scott Capron at Captain Ron on Twitter. What's going on, fellas? How we doing? Episode 16 of the Bucks Banter podcast.
Really good, man. We're coming of age. I like this.
Check us out. 16. Not bad.
That's right. So for our listeners, whether new or consistent listeners, please make sure you check us out on YouTube. Search Bucks Banter. Subscriptions, likes certainly help us a great deal. Our Twitter handles are up here, as mentioned, for Bodan and Scott. Make sure you follow us at Bucks Banter on Twitter. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And that's about all the housekeeping I want to even bother with. I don't want to touch too much on what's going on around the league. We're going to be on our Bucks Report live show Monday night where we'll catch up on a lot of that stuff. What we are doing, our objective for this evening's podcast is to continue on with our division previews. We are going to be focusing on the NFC East today. So we're going to talk about that exciting division, at least according to primetime NFL schedulers.
Yes, yeah, no kidding. And also worth mentioning, for the first time, there's a football game going on right now, which is pretty good. Haven't been able to say that since the Bucks won the Super Bowl. So, Steelers, Cowboys. I mean, I'm not looking, I'm not paying attention, but it's out there, and I appreciate that, you know?
Yeah, all I can tell you is it's not pretty good.
Yeah.
As I have it on here, 3-0 Cowboys with 4 minutes and change left in the first half.
No Ben, no Dak is a little bit of a lackluster start.
A classic matchup between the Steelers and the Cowboys, headlined by Mason Rudolph and Garrett Gilbert. So it's not exactly. It's not primetime football. It's not exact. You'll get used to this if you're an NFC East fan.
You know, Terry Bradshaw has 20 grand on this game somewhere.
Yeah, and it's probably on the Cowboys.
On Dallas.
Yeah.
He's probably betting his jacket on it.
Oh my God! But he was great in failure to launch, so give him that.
Is he actually in that movie, Scott?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's the dad. He's Matthew McConaughey's dad, which honestly, I could see.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the report totally.
Nice casting job. Whoever was responsible for that cast, if only they were involved in the Philadelphia Eagles player personnel department. That is the team we're going to kick off our conversation with. We're going to break down the Eagles. So last year, they're coming off a 4-11 season, very disappointing. A bit of a changing of the tide over in Philadelphia, just a few years removed from their impressive Super Bowl victory without Carson Wentz. Whether that is a coincidence or not, I don't believe it is.
No.
BDN
4-11-1, by the way. They got it.
Yeah, I know.
Too.
Shit, sorry, I always do that.
It's all good.
But you know what, though? In your defense, it wasn't a 16-game schedule for very long. Only like 40 years. So, no worries.
4-11 doesn't equal 16?
No, not anymore. No, apparently. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not much to talk about. Like the overwhelming, like all I think about when I see these teams, because I'm thinking of them and how they're currently constructed, is how frustrating it is having to watch so many of their games last season. And I'm just curious, like, is it even a question though? Like, part of me is like, okay, well, maybe the NFL will adapt. I haven't like actually analyzed the primetime schedule outside of Bucks games and the big games we're looking forward to. Like, how many of these NFC East teams are going to be playing? You got to think it's going to be just the same old. They're going to be on all the time.
But but just think about it. Like the four markets, as big, it's probably the across the board best TV market division there is, right? Like,
that's all they care about when they're
exactly. So And combine that with history, between all four teams. I get it. I get the appeal, but oh my God, like, just seems like these four teams are thrust into it a lot. And there's some interesting stuff. And I will say, great rivalries. Like, whether or not it's great football all the time, but genuine hatred between all four teams. And I obviously there's some, probably everybody hates Dallas the most between the other three teams, but like, there's not a huge drop off between the Dallas-Washington rivalry to the Philly Giants, or Giants-Washington to Philly-Dallas. So it's pretty even across the board. So I will give this division that entertaining always in that kind of facet of the season. But football-wise, I think we could all agree, kind of leaving something to be desired.
Yeah, you're right. It does truly feel like there's an equal rivalry existing between all these franchises, which is a kind of a unique feature of it.
Really cool, actually. Yeah.
They always find themselves in must wins, right? Like, and I get it. That's the way the NFL schedule works. You end up playing your division at the end of the year a lot of the times, but almost always when you flip on and whatever it is, December, it's these four teams playing each other in a must win, and it's in a prime time slot, and it's just like you can bank on it, right?
Well, it's somebody trying desperately to get to 500 to win the automatic, to win the division, right? It's like, which one's going to do it? So yeah, it's unreal, actually.
Yeah, and the only like solace I can take in because I hate the Eagles, I hate the Cowboys, but the only cool thing about it is each of those fan bases hate the opposing team even more than I do. So like, that's I take pride in watching them hate each other is ultimately what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Also, one of the Eagles' primetime game is I think their first one is against the Bucks in Week 6. So at least you get a primetime Bucks game, but you also get the Eagles. So it'll be a trouncing, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Jalen Hurts has been given the reins. Obviously, for now anyway, there's lots of discussion going on. A report came out, I think it was yesterday or earlier today. I can't remember. It's my summer vacation, but that the Eagles are actively in pursuit of acquiring Deshaun Watson potentially. I then read a report not long before we came on the air, because I think we were kind of gearing up to like really discuss that potential acquisition by the Eagles, what it might consist of. But it sounds like it might be time to pump the brakes on that a little bit. I think that was potentially misreported from what I read. So we don't want to waste too much time speculating on what could be, because very easily Deshaun Watson could not be traded at all. He could not be playing football this year.
Yeah.
So just figured it was worth mentioning at the very least. So as it stands, Jalen Hurts will be their signal caller, playing for new first-year head coach Nick Sirianni. They drafted Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama, who's currently on the shelf week to week with a knee sprain. Which would be bad news if that turns out to be anything significant. Even him missing valuable reps in training camp is not great. He doesn't have the sturdiest of injury histories, and if you look at him, I mean,
they've lacked pop at the receiver spot in the last 2 or 3 years since they won the Super Bowl, right? Like they just don't have the guys. And I mean, you take the Heisman Trophy winner, first round pick. Obviously, everyone loves Smith, but too bad. Hopefully, I really hope it doesn't derail his season. I'd love to see him with him healthy and with a healthy Hurts. I mean, we're obviously going to speak more about Hurts. But can I just take a sec? I just want to make a kind of a more macro point. So 2 years ago, nobody's disliking Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. 2 years, not 7 years ago, right? Like 2 years ago. Oh yeah, they draft Jalen Hurts because they just like the value, depth at the position, blah blah blah, etc. I don't think they drafted Jalen Hurts thinking we're not going to get anything more out of Wentz. But it's just how fleeting the NFL is. Like, this is such a perfect example of, what have you done for me lately? Are you healthy? And there's someone else that can do it. And it's just like, we have our quarterback for the next 12 years. It's like, well, not if something happens. Then no, you don't. And now they have a guy that they drafted essentially as kind of a gadget quarterback, not to take anything away from Hurts. I like Hurts, and I definitely liked what I saw from Philadelphia last year once they inserted him. But it just shows you like how cyclical it is, and how we don't need to make these grandiose statements about, oh, Philly can file away the quarterback position until 2030. Like, it's just not how it goes anymore. I just think this example is so perfect for that. I don't know if you
a lot of those opinions on Carson Wentz at the time, and this is one where I think where a lot of us are going to agree. Like, I didn't see it. Like, even when he was in there, I think a lot of us were watching those games just being like, he's good, I guess.
Felt
and
lucky.
then he has feels super lucky, and he has these horrible moments. And I think it also speaks to Doug Peterson and his evaluation of the position as well too. Very reluctant to bring Jalen Hurts in, even when he had to. And just like Doug Peterson, I guess going back to it, like just getting rid of him is probably a win in the eyes of the Eagles fans.
But Bo, imagine that 2 years ago.
Exactly. And
right, like,
he was one of those guys that like was supposed to be one of those next offensive geniuses when they won that Super Bowl. Like the RPOs and just changing the way football's played, and how quickly we've gone away from that. Even though RPOs still have a place in this league, but he's not the savant that we thought he was. And
and just the whole winning the Super Bowl with the backup narrative.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, well, then you suck and then like you're not.
Yeah, okay, but I want to play the devil's advocate though. Like, that's not just a narrative. That fucking happened. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's good. But it was great, and they won that Super Bowl. They didn't lose that. The other team didn't lose that Super Bowl. They won that Super Bowl. Yeah,
but for sure. Oh yeah, I don't mean to. I don't. That run was awesome. Foles doing it was awesome, and they were the better team in that game, and they deserved to win. No shade there. I just mean like, and now he's done, and now he's done there, and that's all. That, like, see ya. I don't know.
2 years. You go from being one of those like next level offenses and putting it together. It didn't even seem like it mattered who was on the field for them.
Yeah.
And now they're like, last year their offense ranked 28th by DVOA.
Yeah.
Like, you're a bottom 5 offense from a guy that's like basically in the league for his offense, right?
Yeah.
So like getting rid of him, the change in administration at the front end of that team is one of the things that are like, I think Eagles fans, I'm guessing that they're not the most patient bunch ever, but
guessing,
they're probably pretty. Yeah, exactly. They're probably pretty happy to have this change and a complete change in the regime, right?
I'm making this point as more of like a wider look at the league and just how it works. But what Grace?
Sorry, right? Scott. I just want to say I think it was a great example, and I think you're totally bang on, man. I couldn't agree more. It totally represents how it is in the NFL.
Yeah, it's there because great history, obviously great recent history, Super Bowl champ and all this, but just like, what a fall from grace. They were unwatchable last year. Unwatchable. I mean, I'd have to go through the game logs, but I think 4-11-1 was
generous.
Pretty generous. Like, they shouldn't have been 1-14-1 or anything like that, but like, they were bad. And 4-11-1 is bad. So yeah, maybe that's actually, that's fair based on how they played, but like, they sucked. I know we said we just said we didn't see it from Wentz. But I also fully admit I didn't see him being that bad either. Like, because he was bad last year, like, very bad. And I mean, I would love to have a discussion about what you guys think about injury history and if people are soft or if they're injury prone, because he just hurt himself. He's out for 5 to 12 weeks right now with the Colts. So separate, obviously, in relation to our AFC South preview, but it's just, they're an interesting case, and I'm more interested with Philly as to how we got here, almost as to like what's going to happen going forward. Just because it's been such a whirlwind the last few seasons. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, man, also like not even picking in the top 10 when you go 4-11-1. Like, what a kick in the nuts to the fans of Philadelphia that is.
We talked about that. We talked about that on when we were prepping for the draft. I don't even know if
it's because
they on here, but go ahead. Go. I think that did they trade back? I'm not positive, but still, that entire division was all picking all amongst themselves, and none of them were getting in those blue chip picks like at the very top of the draft.
Dallas and Philly traded on draft night, like they
wild,
picked.
Wild,
yeah, like that. Like to think of a rivalry where you're able to do that, that's kind of crazy in the
NFL. And yeah, Scott, it's like the Philly faithful too. It's just such a like interesting place to kind of look under that microscope, because I'm sure a lot of these like Philly fan sites message boards are all like embracing Jalen Hurts at the moment and thinking he's going to be the real deal. But come week 3 and they're 0-2 heading into that third game of the year, what are they going to be saying then? You know what I mean? Like I read today they're calling for Bryce Harper to retire, for example, in Philadelphia.
Can you imagine Deshaun Watson going to that fan base? Like I can't imagine what they're going to be saying about Deshaun Watson if they're lucky enough to have him.
They love their teams, man. They love their teams.
They love their teams and hate their players.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Sorry, quick story. My wife and I were in London for a trip 2 years ago, and Philly was playing the London game against Jacksonville. Somehow, we ended up at a Philly supporters bar, so it only had Philadelphia stuff on the walls. They had the Eagles Pats Super Bowl on a loop. They only play that on one of the TVs. That was it. It was only Americans working there. We had beers and wings, and it was just like, oh yeah, so glad we came to England. Really getting the full experience. Hilarious. And it was wild.
London has those bars. They had like a Canada bar when I was there. I was there for like the Olympics, and it's just like they sell Moosehead for like £8 a bottle. Like it's insane.
They have pubs instead of convenience stores that we have here. So they might as well embrace a theme. Shout out Bucks UK, by the way. Great coverage of the Bucks UK. They're awesome, those boys. So
this turned into a bit of an existential Eagles question, but where are you guys honestly on Hurts? Call it Bo. Where do you guys fall with him?
I am shocked at his effectiveness last year, because I didn't think he had a shot in hell at being an effective starting quarterback in the NFL from watching all of his collegiate career. Like, great college player. I think he was in an awesome system, and for an athletic quarterback, he's pretty good at limiting mistakes. But he's pretty much a really good running back who can throw well. And again, I was impressed, so I don't want to count him out. Like, I kind of cheer for a guy like that, to be honest.
Me too.
But I'm not buying it. I'm not buying stock in Jalen Hurts, and I'm definitely not buying stock in Jalen Hurts playing in this current roster that Philadelphia has. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That franchise is a little bit in shambles currently. Some of their best players, especially on the defensive side, are, Fletcher Cox. You got Kelsey, not Travis Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, the center. Like, those guys are long in the tooth, to put it kindly. Still effective players, but those that's the heartbeat of their team, and those boys are on their way out. And I don't see the youth, the star power, the youth movement really creeping its way in before those guys leave, and it could get ugly for a couple years here.
Yeah, I think kind of agree with everything you just said about Jalen Hurts, but I was shocked when it was happening. I was shocked by how much I liked it, because I feel like we always talk about how good quarterback play makes NFL football watchable, and Jalen Hurts was still watchable. He wasn't doing you'd look at his stat line at the end of the game, and you'd be like, oh well, it was an okay game, but he's interesting on every play, that's for sure. But yeah, to think about how they got there, I think they probably whiffed on a bunch of these draft picks. Probably getting a Super Bowl didn't help for their draft position for one, but yeah, go ahead, Collin.
I've never been so outspoken about a draft pick as when they took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. On Twitter. Like, I was just like, I don't want to engage with Philly fans on Twitter, but I did, because it was just, to me, super surprising. And I'm like, okay, obviously I get it. Reagor's fast and whatever, but watching Justin Jefferson at LSU, he was incredibly dynamic, exactly what they needed. I was calling for it. as a lot of people were. I'm not acting like that.
But still.
When you make, that's a big mistake. That's a huge mistake that can define you for like, you're probably not going to have, you don't get too many chances at getting a wide receiver like that.
Yeah,
and it changes your wide receiver room.
100%. And especially when it's known around the league that you guys haven't had anyone to throw the ball to, right? And then, hey, Jefferson pops, and if he doesn't, then it doesn't look as bad. But he did, and it does look that bad. That's really too bad. Sorry. Hey, 20 cool points if someone can tell me who the backup quarterback is as of now in Philly.
Fuck, I could go for some cool points.
I know, you need them. You're down $8 million. It's crazy.
Damn bad, bro.
Well, it's Joe Flacco. So
yeah, I literally was just looking at their depth chart and I was laughing at it. Yeah.
I actually take it back. There are no cool points ever associated with Joe Flacco. So never mind.
I should have just guessed. Someone better than the Jets backups.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
So like their roster as well. Like they lose Wentz, obviously.
Yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey they cut last year at the start of this year. Ryan Kerrigan they bring in from Washington, who is probably done, I'm assuming, like as an edge guy. Like I don't know.
Great career. Let's see what he does.
Great career. But interesting. You go to a division rival. Maybe it sparks you. Maybe that gives you another 2 or 3 years just playing as hard as you possibly can, especially playing your former team twice a year. Anthony Harris comes in as a safety from the Vikings.
Oh yeah, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. They had a good start to the year. I feel like that secondary kind of regressed as the year went on. They lost to Deshaun Jackson, another wide receiver famed for being an Eagle. But yeah, I don't know. Like you look at their roster, they got Marquise Goodwin, I guess, or no, they lost Marquise Goodwin. Sorry, they lost Marquise Goodwin to the Bears. He obviously wasn't great last year. I just remember him as a Jag, being kind of happy about him. But
I mean, they have some players on their line, like like, I know Cox, but Cox, Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Kerrigan maybe is more of a spot guy. Like they have guys who can get to the quarterback, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're kind of burying the lead, but we're starting with the Eagles, meaning I don't think any of the three of us have them doing anything this season, right?
Yeah. No, and if Devonta Smith was like what I would have been most excited to watch tuning into an Eagles game this year, like I would have been pretty pumped to click over and check out what he's doing, because he's such an incredible dynamic talent, but he's incredibly frail for an NFL receiver, right? Like, so that has to be mentioned. And also him and Jalen Reagor seem so similar to me as just like lean burners. Like I have no issue with them taking Devonta Smith there, but just one thought. And Darius Slay, who they brought over, I feel has been a bit of a disappointment, maybe because he's kind of like he's on his own back there, but that was a very well-documented acquisition, like coming over from Detroit and big play Slay at that time. I haven't heard much about Darius Slay. I mean, sometimes with cornerbacks, that's a good thing, but I'm not seeing his name pop up on these, top 10, top 20 cornerback ranking lists and things like that. So I'm curious. I'm not saying Darius Slay is playing bad, because I'm trying my best to not watch any Philly snaps, let alone getting stuck watching them. But when you're on primetime, I'm watching.
Hey, besides Devonta Smith, anything else you like in their draft, like Landon Dickerson? I don't know.
Yeah, I love Landon Dickerson. Obviously, that's the heir apparent to Jason Kelce. And Dickerson could play guard in the meantime if they need him to. Like that's a fantastic pick in the second round, I believe. And then I love that they drafted Kenneth Gainwell, I think in like the 5th round. I can't recall. I don't have it in front of me. Running back out of Memphis, like super productive, explosive player. Which, speaking of that position for the Eagles, I personally find Miles Sanders to be a little bit overrated. I feel like he gets hyped up so much.
I like him.
Yeah. He's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah, but I'm yet to see him really be dynamic. He can certainly hold the fort down, but the way, I was really excited to watch him last year with all the hype. Like I know he was Saquon's backup at Penn State, and so I didn't watch a ton of him in college. But I was just kind of, and maybe that's even like partially through a fantasy lens, right? Like when I'm talking about him being hyped up, he's like take him in the second, third round, and you're going to have a fantasy bell cow because he's a good receiver and he can tote the rock. He didn't appear to be that much of a difference maker to me. So I think Kenneth Gainwell, though, fits a similar mold and could be equally as effective potentially as a 5th-round pick.
Well, that's about 25 minutes on the Eagles.
Yeah, time to fly home.
I love it. That was great. I love it.
All right.
Good luck, Eagles fans. We probably won't talk about you ever again.
Yeah,
exactly.
hopefully you're not listening because you won't be again if you just listen to that, or our Twitter is just going to get lit up. Shout out to my boy Fraser Rung, also known as Fingies, diehard Eagles fan. He was trying to defend the Jalen Reagor pick to me, by the way, a couple years ago. See you, Fraser.
We'll see you at the draft, Eagles fans.
Yeah, my buddy Graham too. Just good luck. You know what I mean? Like, try to enjoy your Sundays, maybe other ways, but just if you're listening, just good luck, and I wish you a great fall season.
Yeah, maybe.
I hope you trade Ben Simmons.
Maybe keep your high pick next year, Eagles. All right, the New York Giants, a team that has been quite a doormat since their Super Bowl victory years, but also a team, despite their 6-10 record last season. I mean, every team is in the hunt in this division, right? Like there was no team was within 2 games of 500, but someone had to make the playoffs, and Washington did, and then they lost to the Bucs. But in terms of the Giants, really impressive, especially from an analytics perspective, like kind of flying under the radar. That they've assembled a really effective defense, especially towards the tail end of last season, and one that deserves to be talked about. They got some really nice pieces there. James Bradbury in the secondary has been fantastic. Underrated linebacker Blake Martinez. And then they got Leonard Williams up front. I love the selection of Azeez Ojulari. So, and I know Bo does too. We've talked a ton about Azeez. I feel like I've said that name 100 times. So their defense is good and could continue to be good. Everything with this team, in my opinion, like I know Bo, you love their receiving corps. I like it too. But and Saquon Barkley is my favorite running back, as I've talked about at length before in my running back rankings episode. But they have Daniel Jones as quarterback, and this is it for him. This is his make or break season, and that's a lot. I don't know if he's the guy I want, to be my make or break player.
Everything's there for the Giants, honestly. Like besides the quarterback, I love their defense. I think their defense could be like, I won't be shocked if they're a top 10 defense.
They were better than that second half of last year, I think.
Yeah, I think they were too. They're strong team, man. They were very they know how to get to the quarterback. I feel like they've always known how to get to the quarterback. It doesn't matter who they have on that. They just seem to find guys. Let's see what they were.
Back to the Uthia Manura, Jason Pierre-Paul days.
Yeah, exactly. Even the Michael Strahan days, right?
That guy.
19th in DVOA on defense, 26 on offense. Obviously not great. I think they outperformed that 19th rank at the back end of the season, obviously. But yeah, I think it always comes back to Daniel Jones. As exciting as I am to see Saquon come back, because he can just turn around and give it to Saquon a bunch of downs, and they're gonna have a good offense. They're gonna have to throw the ball at some point.
They're not even talking about Saquon being a sure thing to start the year as a starting running back too, coming off that knee. So that's troublesome. I don't know if they're just trying to play it coy.
Yeah,
it's the worst thing.
Yeah, I want him to be fully healthy, right? Like he's one of my favorite football players to watch play. So hopefully he is, and hopefully they more just don't want to
Honestly, I'd like to see them pump him with every PED possible, like he's a Soviet athlete in the 80s, and just see what Saquon can do. What an absolute freak. We want him on the field. He seems like the absolute best dude as well. Just get healthy and play, and don't be in 3rd and 8 on every series. You know what I mean? Oh my God. I think,
more like a Soviet athlete in 2016 too.
Okay, either or. I don't think much has changed. Yeah, that's fair. I gotta think this is the best crew of receivers that Saquon and Jones have played. I mean, I know they're new to the league-ish, but like, I like Darius Slayton. I like Kenny Golladay. John Ross, I can't believe he's still on a team. But then they have Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney. So, like, those are real guys to theoretically take some of the burden off of Saquon to just, like, to do something insane every time he touches the ball. I don't love Daniel Jones. I don't think he sucks. I think he hangs on to the ball too much and turns it over. Like, fumbles the ball. Like, you just got to hang on to the ball, man. So I think there's something there. I'm never going to be like Daniel Jones is a top 8 guy or anything, but I do think he is competent enough. And they definitely were playing better at the end of last season. They that Week 17 game against Dallas, they dominated them when Dallas needed to win to make the playoffs, and like that was a great watch. But I mean, we got to talk about the coach, right? Like, things are not going well there. Like, isn't that the first point that needs to be discussed with the team? Yeah, the roster looks better than it has been, even though
I was about to say.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I'm just like, let's face it, the Giants have been like perpetually mediocre for the last however many years. They were even mediocre when they won the Super Bowls, right? So, we're past Eli, but we're on to Eli 2 with Jones, basically. But people are retiring from the freaking team in training camp, and there are fights going on. And Joe Judge is all like talking about no nonsense. It's like, hey, man, you might have to deal with some nonsense in this job. Like, I don't know if anyone told you, but like, it's you're not whipping 15-year-olds into shape here. Like, I'm sure anyone listening has heard about the Joe Judge stuff and that he's making them run after these fights. 2 guys have retired. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. I can talk. Honestly, this is the most interesting thing in the whole league for me, because NFL coaching is so about like or football coaching in general is in your face, physical, getting the most out of these guys. But like, that's not really how you get the most out of a 24-year-old anymore. It's just not, right? Like, I don't know.
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely.
The one thing that I'll give Joe Judge on this is that the fight that we're talking about that started all of this, Daniel Jones is at the bottom of the pile. And you have to envision the way their offseason went, not only in free agency, but also in the draft, getting Kenny Golladay, getting Kadarius Toney. He's pounding the table saying, Daniel Jones is fine, all we need is weapons. And if Daniel Jones gets injured in a fight that he probably didn't even start, he's just at the bottom of the pile in, I can see Joe Judge just losing his mind over that.
Okay.
It doesn't excuse the 100-yard sprints and push-ups and just berating his team. Because you're right. I don't think that's how you motivate guys. I don't even think that's how you discipline guys.
No.
But yeah, I can see where he was coming from on that one, just because he's spent the entire offseason telling everyone how this is our guy. He's going to be fine. We need to invest. We have to invest to make him better. And we almost injured him.
Yeah.
In like a dumb play in training camp.
I'll concede that. That's no problem. If you want to freak out because your starting quarterback is on the bottom of a pile in training camp and, anything can happen, that's fine, obviously. Yeah. But, like, there's obviously a disconnect there. And if your team isn't good and you're listening to a guy that you don't respect or you don't really want to play for, like, we've all been on teams. Good luck, man. Like, good luck getting the most out of those guys. And I'm sorry, because I really want to like the Giants roster and, that they're trending upward, that they started playing better at the end of last year, and even giving Daniel Jones some credit. But I find it hard to believe that they're going to be a cohesive unit that's just going to go out there and do it and play for this guy and, go 11-6 and win a playoff spot. Like, I just don't see it. Now, they might be the benefactor of one of these 4 teams has to make the playoffs and, literally, Like that's what happens. So
just like last year.
Yeah, exactly. But just like, you hear about these coaches, and I don't. You ever hear Andy Reid saying anything like that, or talk like you ever hear Bruce Arians saying anything like that, or like I don't know, man.
Even Bill Belichick, you don't hear about him showing those kind of old school disciplinary tactics, despite his cold demeanor with the media.
Yeah,
and not to mention their camps are kept so quiet because of how he operates. Yeah. So you're right.
All of the New York media is just sitting there like salivating when that's happening, right?
That's fair, and that's I just I think it's easier for these guys to not play for this guy than like buckle down and do it in spite of him. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. But who knows?
You're right so far. Like two guys retired. I've never heard of a fight happening and that being the result.
Literally retired from the sport. But that's a tough indictment, I would say. I don't know. I can't get past that point. Even looking at the Giants roster, I just can't get past that.
Maybe Joe Judge is just feeling confident, knowing that his offensive coordinator is going to really harness the team in Jason Garrett. And
did you guys? No, don't call him that. He wants the media to call him coach.
Oh, coach, right?
Hey, psycho! Are you kidding? Oh my God, you've done absolutely nothing. So one of the reporters, I guess today, had said, "Nice to see you in person today, Jason." Like, nice to see you in person, Jason. He said, "We don't do that here. Call me coach," or something like he was in Hoosiers or another 1980s movie that might make sense to him. Like, oh, I'm sorry, but like if those are the guys running your team and running your offense. Obviously, this is a bit of a leap that you can't be a good offensive coordinator because you're making the media call you coach. But come on, man. Like, really? I don't know.
Did you know that Coach Prime, I think it's Jacksonville State, where Deion Sanders is the head coach?
Yeah, he did the exact same thing. Yeah.
He did the exact same thing. But then it's like, good for you, Prime. Good job, Deion. Like, coach, like.
Deion Sanders versus Jason Garrett is a bit of a different. I would call him whatever he wanted.
Ben DiNucci's in at quarterback for the Cowboys, and I think he just it was a hand. Ben DiNucci is in. That is the worst quarterback I've ever watched play an NFL game. Ben DiNucci, number 7 for the Dallas Cowboys last year.
Worse than Peterman?
Sorry to cut you off there. Yeah.
No, well, don't worry. I'm just going off on these idiots. Worse than Peterman? Because I feel like that's saying something.
Yeah, I mean the 5-pick game got a little blown out of proportion. DiNucci, if he had the arm strength, he'd have thrown 20 picks. I had so many shares in CeeDee Lamb last year because I'm just like, I love CeeDee Lamb and I just think his talent is fantastic. So when Dak went down, like I had him in every fantasy league. I drafted CeeDee Lamb, and so I was still following, and I was probably because I was betting CeeDee Lamb overs as well. And watching DiNucci try, just infuriating.
If he had the arm strength, he'd have had 20 picks. Might have to go on your tombstone. I'm not even. That's unreal. That is so good.
Oh, it should go on his tombstone too.
Either or, they both work. But yeah, Jason Garrett sucks too.
But yeah, so I guess all things considered, I think they have plenty of talent in New York. They've assembled. Yep. It's funny because Dave Gettleman was known for being like the trenches guy and like always building from the trenches. And then he went ahead and drafted Saquon at 2. We don't need to get into that discussion, but so yeah, but he's the funny thing is like, we'll see what happens. Like in addition to Daniel Jones, like, their O-line needs to hold up and they're depending on some young guys and some guys who were drafted, but without super high draft capital who have kind of supplanted some higher draft capital guys, meaning later picks are the ones starting over the earlier picks. But Andrew Thomas had a really rough start to the year, number 4 selection. In the 2019 draft, first tackle off the board in an incredibly gifted tackle group. But he started to come around.
That's what I was going to ask. Hey, I'm certainly not in line play savant. I was going to ask you, did he find his footing a little bit more towards the end of the year?
Yeah, he did. Apparently he really started to find his footing. Yeah, which is good too. Like I'm cheering. I like that whole group of O-linemen. I was a little shocked he was the first one off the board. But regardless, I hope he has a good career. I'm just saying some of those guys are going to really need to perform on the upper end of what they're expected to in order for Daniel Jones to be upright, because he is the key for this team. And there's talent. There's talent all around. It's like a poor man's version of how I view the Broncos. Like it seems like a cop-out saying it all depends on the quarterback position, but there's certain teams that I think are pretty well assembled, and I think we can be in agreement on that. Like we've praised their defense, we've praised their receiving core. They have the most athletic, dynamic running back in the game.
Yeah.
But so this is kind of one of those cases, I think. So we'll see what happens. Like maybe Daniel Jones proves he's better than we know. I thought you said it really well, Scott, when you're like, don't hate him, don't love him. Like
yeah. The other thing is that if you have good receivers and the defense is playing man, and if their backs are turned, then that gives Jones can run. Like he can really run. So it opens up another avenue for them just to have more threats on the outside, because then you're worried about them. And now, I mean, the defense is picking their poison, obviously, seeing if Jones can kind of pick them apart with his arm, or if they're just going to see what he can do with his legs. But I do like his versatility as long as he doesn't turn the ball over. I like what they have on offense.
Yeah,
Bucks fans are very aware that he can run.
Thank you, man. Thank you for not forcing me to say that. So I'm gonna take this drive of ours to an abrupt halt, like a Ben DiNucci interception, and move
Did
on.
Did you just throw one?
No. I'm just trying to segue to get away from what you just brought up and get away from the Giants and move along. Unless you have one more thing you want to hit on, Bo. Your lips doing that cute little quiver when you got something you want to say.
No, all I'm saying is that I like that you're looking at my lips that much. I won't be surprised if the Giants win this, and if the Giants are a good team this year, we're going to be like, oh, it was all there. It's all staring in front of us. So yeah, I don't know.
If Daniel Jones is good,
exactly.
Well, yeah, or if they don't kill the coach at halftime of week 3, that's another issue.
Yeah, you can't kill him if you've died from dehydration.
I'm pretty if Daniel Jones is a good quarterback and Joe Judge is a good coach, this team is going to be really good. Like extreme, like they have the chance to be very, very good.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the complement of skill position players is beautiful. Like just the style of play Galladay is, who they brought over. Like he's gonna go and get you a ball down the field, and then you got like this shifty little June bug in Kadarius Toney, who
he's one of our favorite. Yeah. Like we won't be surprised if he's the best wide receiver in this class, besides our guy, right? But
he could be for sure. He could
easily be one of the top 2.
Is a June bug more shifty than a jitterbug, or is it?
I feel like jitter. You probably that was probably like planted in my head from you like months ago, saying jitterbug once, and it like stuck with me.
It's true.
So yeah, jitterbug's probably more what I was going for.
Well, I whispered it to you before you went to bed, but yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I like where this podcast is going.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, let's talk about.
I think we can agree that the Giants have a very big discrepancy between their ceiling and floor, because we like their talent, but they have high off the rails potential as well, right? Is that fair?
Yeah,
I think this is honestly, I think this is a team that's could extremely outperform this division, or just be another team in this division. I'm glad we're not just we're not guessing records right now, because the most likely case is that everyone in this division is going to have the same record. Or around it.
8 and 9, all under 500. Yeah.
Or 7 and they're going to be around 7 and 12, and everyone's just we're. And then there's one team that's 4, and there's one team that's 8. There's going to be something like that, but I don't know.
And speaking of guessing records, we've already been guessing backup quarterbacks. This is a team that I think should have a really good backup quarterback. I'm just looking it up now. I didn't know. I'm not going to make you guys guess. I'm seeing. Oh, Glennon's there.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's right here.
Yeah, Glennon's there.
So that's not bad, actually. I like him as a backup, to be honest. Mike Glennon's the definition of a backup, like a solid backup.
Yeah. That's actually in his wife's Twitter bio.
Yeah. They should bring over like Nick Foles or something. Like if they have security at that position, I don't know.
Yeah.
They should have just went and got Fitzpatrick. I guess Fitzpatrick had the starter
Fitz
offer in Washington, but like if they had Fitzpatrick, I'd be way higher on this team as a back. Fitzpatrick as a backup.
But like Foles is still in Chicago, right? So they got Fields, Foles, and Dalton, who they brought in to be the guy until Fields is ready. So like, if you. All right, let's talk.
That's a tough contract. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about the Big D, Ben DiNucci, and the Dallas Cowboys. 6-10 last year.
That could have went a few ways.
Yeah, I know it could have, Scott. Thanks for pointing that out.
No, you could have been talking about Andy Dalton last year.
Right, true. But yeah, the Dak injury last year was awful to see. I'm like kind of surprised with how awful it looked that he's like, back playing already. He's going to be good to go. I guess it was early in the year enough, but it looked really bad, scary, like career ender potentially with at that, all of his contract disparity between what he wanted, Jerry Jones wanted, and not having that settled. But it's good that he's got the bag now, and he's got the ankle or tibia all back together. Shoulder causing him some issues though, which makes sense to me. He's been so long probably without properly like throwing a football. So they got plenty of talent on the offensive side of the ball, as we all know. Dak, Zeke Elliott needs to have a big bounce back year, or else he's going to get really written off, and that's really going to look bad on Jerry Jones and his wallet. I already mentioned how much I love CeeDee Lamb. They got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. They got one of the top receiving groups in the league. Not much to write home about at tight end. But defense, like especially in the secondary, is a major issue for this team, and it has been plaguing them for years. I think they were so gung-ho about landing one of those two corners in this draft, Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn. But those players were in too high demand, and they didn't get to do it. So they went with Micah Parsons. So that's their third major investment in a linebacker in the last 5 years. They did not extend Leighton Vander Esch. So he's going to be a free agent after this year. They're running him, Jalen Smith, and Micah Parsons out there. So, I mean, similar to running back, how so many people feel about running back on offense, like linebacker is not the position you generally invest so much in, and that's what they've done here. Meanwhile, their secondary has suffered as a result. Sorry that this is long-winded. It's just kind of they have Trevon Diggs back there and DeMarcus Lawrence on in the front four.
It's not long-winded. Their secondary has been picked apart for years.
Yeah, it's just such a glaring need they haven't been able to address. I feel like they're too busy shelling out money for their big name guys like Zeke, and obviously you got to secure the quarterback. Dak's proven to be a lot better than I thought he was going to be in the NFL, and I understand that. I mean, but a lot of question marks on the back end. I just can't see that defense keeping up. That offense is going to have to outscore people, man. That's what it comes down to for them. And you're playing against two tough defenses in the division in Washington and New York.
That breakout year for Zeke, wasn't their offensive line supposed to be awesome? Basically for his entire career, or at least for the next 5 years?
As good as it gets.
It was the best offensive line I've ever seen.
And then it just evaporated, right?
Yeah, I mean, Teron Smith is still there. If I pull up the depth, they still. Oh, they got Zach, who retired. Not Zach Martin. Zach Martin.
No, they still have these guys. They still have these same guys, and I know injuries play a part in all this too. But they've been worse as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they still got Teron Smith. Teron Smith's been around for a long time though. But yeah, he's such a cool player, man. Teron Smith. Got it. La'el Collins, who was he ended up. I think he went. Yeah, Lyle Collins, however you say it.
The supplemental draft?
Yeah, well, he was the LSU guy, and he had all those the legal issues, the gun issues, whatever. But he's turned out to be an elite right tackle, borderline elite anyway. We'll have to check in with our boy Brandon Thorne. But you're right, Bo. On paper, they got some really nice names still. So there's no reason for their O-line to not at the bare minimum be serviceable. So
it's because Zeke isn't that good.
Yeah, it's got to be.
That's what it is. He's fine. He's not that good anymore. Let's face it. It happens quickly for some of these running backs, and he can be great. He can be he can do a little bit of everything. He can get you a tough first down, and he can juke and take you to that. But like, we did not see that last year. And oh God, I wish I had the stat. There's some crazy stat from last season about like over 10-yard runs, and he only had like a handful or something like. I shouldn't have brought it up.
I know that he only because when we were doing the running back stuff, he only had 4 explosive plays last year. I don't know about over 10. Over 20, only 4.
Over 20. Probably
over the last 2 years, he had like 8 total, and none over 40 is what it was. So like what I deemed explosive plays was 20 or more, but that was just. Yeah. I wish I had those notes in front of me because we talked about it ad nauseum. But his lack of explosion, Scott, what you're alluding to, was like borderline incomprehensible, let alone for an elite back earning that kind of money. He was also fumbling the ball last year. Excuse me. The only thing I'll say is when you have no passing attack, which once Dak went down, like it was just a disaster, despite their talented receivers. Yeah, like then it becomes tough. But he's like, I mean, we've seen it with Saquon when he was a rookie. They were stacking the box against him as hard as you would against anyone, and he was putting up 2,000 all-purpose yards as a rookie.
I'll be completely honest. I can't fucking stand Zeke. I don't like anything about him. I'm glad that he started to suck.
I know.
Like I can't.
When you started that rant, your Michigan shirt started glowing.
Oh yeah, I know.
It really did.
Weird. I can't stand him, but like totally recognize how talented he has shown to be, has shown he can be, and like obviously taking the 4th overall pick, ridiculous. Would never have done it. All this money that he's getting paid, ridiculous. Would never have done it. But he's still at his best. He's a top 6 to 8 running back, I would say, but he hasn't shown it. And he also has shown like a propensity for showing up out of shape or only doing the minimum. And let's face it, he's made all the money, right? Like, I don't know. Does he have a huge desire to be great? It doesn't seem like he does. And that's not even a knock. I don't care. Like, do whatever you want to do. Like, whatever, man. But it just seems like it's fallen off a cliff for him. And who knows? Maybe he comes back and has 1,650 yards and like leads the league in rushing. I don't see that happening, but he was bad last year. He was bad.
Yeah. Are you suggesting in hindsight that in 2016, Jerry Jones should have maybe considered selecting Jalen Ramsey at 4 instead of Ezekiel Elliott?
I mean, it's hard to find a running back to come in. Oh, wait, nope. It's like the easiest thing in sports to do is to find a running back and come in. Remember, who was it? Tony Pollard that came in for them after and didn't miss a beat? Oh, yeah, shocker.
Yeah. Or they could have waited till the 2nd round that year and selected Derrick Henry 45th overall or earlier.
Exactly. Henry's just straight up better. And
that's a terrifying thought, actually.
It's not like Ramsey would have fulfilled a need. You know what I mean? This is more Zeke focused than Dallas, but Dallas is all flash, always have been. They just want the names, they want the all that stuff, and like not to sound get off my lawn guy because I get it. They're America's team, and you're trying to sell everything, and Zeke did that the first few years, but brutal contract. He's not that good, or not as good as he could be, I don't think, and. I don't know. It's so much more Dak's team than Zeke's team. I know that's not exactly a hot take, but it's not even a debate.
And he was a 4th rounder that same draft, so you got to give them some credit at least. You got me diving down this wormhole. Justin Simmons, safety for the Broncos, was a 3rd rounder.
Yeah.
Oh, all the credit in the world for picking Dak. That needs as much shade as can be thrown for picking a running back 4th. The Dak find was awesome, and he basically forced Romo into retirement, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's happened before in Dallas, hasn't it? Forcing the previous quarterback into retirement. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to hit on in terms of the Dallas Cowboys, their outlook for this season before we move along?
Yeah, I want to talk about Zeke some more. No, I'm just kidding.
Even though. Like, I feel the same way I feel about the Eagles. We'll probably be talking about you again, Dallas fans. So
I think
enjoy it.
Good.
Especially week one. Week one, we got the Bucks, right? The Bucks have the Cowboys, so
Sure do, and
we'll find out right away.
I hope Dak's playing that game, man. Like I hope he's okay. Like I don't want to see him deal with any more shit, and I want to see him get CD the ball.
Yeah. Brady's gonna tear apart Dallas.
Oh, their secondary's fucked. That game. Like I don't know what the line is, but I don't like betting spreads anyway. Personally,
too few. That's what the line is.
Yeah. Or Brady's passing yardage.
Yeah, well, fuck. But so I mean, we should hit on, a couple other spots with Dallas. We all love CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Potential kind of dark horse leading the league in yards guy. Is that possible? Do you think?
I don't think there's enough touches for that with who he's playing alongside. Like they're paying, you know what I mean? There's just between,
gotta keep Cooper
and Amari. Got to keep exactly.
Yeah.
And they got to keep Zeke happy, so they're gonna be pounding the rock a lot. But I think like CD himself, Lamb has that talent undoubtedly.
Yeah, that was probably ambitious, the yards thing, but maybe just becoming the number one guy. I no offense to Cooper.
I think that will happen. I think that will happen.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be just such a red zone freak. Like, also, he was the third receiver taken that draft, which made like little sense to me because Ruggs and then Judy, like that's a great little trio of receivers. But CeeDee Lamb, to me, it was pretty clear had the best opportunity for his skills to translate to the next level. When you talk about win and jump balls, you talk about incredible yards after catch gifts, catch radius. That's
the difference between going to Alabama and going to Oklahoma. That's the only way I can reason why he wasn't the number one guy.
He's just the one guy out of those three receivers that has a bit of everything. Like Ruggs is kind of a specialist burner. Judy's more of a specialist. Like I'll get wide open because I'm going to run the sexiest route ever with my feet, my tap dancer feet.
Yeah,
Lamb can do a bit of all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we all go on tangents in awkward directions at times. I think, speaking of awkward tangents, then maybe we could talk about the Washington football team and how this dumbass team can't show enough respect for Ron Rivera, who everyone in the world respects, and get their goddamn vaccination. So that guy, totally immune compromised, cancer, someone who suffered from cancer and has recovered from cancer.
Survivor.
Just the idea to put him in any more risk than he needs to be at, and for him to be so upset and appalled by it that he's willing to openly say that, just come on. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't even plan to talk about that, but that just jumped in my head there.
Well, it's part of their season.
It's a huge part of their season. I've never been higher on a team, from this division than I am Washington, but that's just a demoralizing way to start their season, to be honest.
Yeah, crazy to me. And Ron Rivera is such a good dude anyway. I feel like players really like playing for Ron Rivera. So Montez Sweat, go get your needle, bro. God. Yeah. But Bo, you have been talking about, you've been kind of teasing us throughout all our other podcasts, about having this affection for Washington. Do you want to kind of give us your outlook? You want to talk about this squad a little bit?
Yeah, dude. I just love their defense. I think their defense is going to be one of the hardest to run or pass against. I won't be surprised if they're a top 5 defense. They could be a top 3 defense. They could be the best defense in the league, honestly. Chase Young, don't even need to say much about Chase Young, but Chase Young is just an absolute monster. I can only see him getting better. Loved how much respect and reverence he gave to Brady when they met up in the playoffs, and how badly he wanted to play against Brady. I think that just speaks to how good of a player, how great of a player he could be, and how great of a player he wants to be. Jonathan Allen, I love. Darren Payne, I love. Montez Sweat, he gets vaccinated. I'll love that guy.
Jonathan Allen just inked a big deal, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 4-year big deal, 70 million or something.
Good, he earned it, man.
You were on vacation, Bo.
Yeah, I was soaking up with no service. Jamin Davis, my defensive rookie of the year candidate, in my best bet for defensive rookie of the year. I just think they're going to be so good, and their secondary is good too. I don't know. If you look at the way that they've constructed this team, it's basically saying we're gonna stop you on defense. Like any play you want to run, we have something for it. And then also like offensively, I actually don't hate it. Like Curtis Samuel coming in, Terry McLaughlin's already there. Adam Humphries isn't horrible. Antonio Gibson, I think is one of the like could have a huge breakout season. I think he could be one of the better running backs in the league this year. Not just carrying the ball, but also catching it. I just love their roster. I like Ron Rivera a ton too. I think I love his aggression. It's just one of those teams that I think is going to be tough to beat. And in November, December, they're going to be one of those teams where you're just like, God, I hate playing these guys. Like, there's no like, it doesn't feel good betting against those guys late in the season. I'm super high on Washington. I think they're the clear number one in this division. But I could see the Giants outperforming if things break well for them. But I don't know. I really, really like Washington. I would say they're the division winner for me.
Hey, Bo, that's interesting for when we get to the win totals here for these four teams. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, defense looks good. Fitzpatrick, he's
going to be solid. Like
he'll do some crazy stuff, but he'll be good. Like he's good.
Up and down last year, but I think he's one of those guys that you can kind of bank on.
But they played Tampa tough in the playoff game.
Like, they did.
They really did.
Yeah, Heineke, Taylor
yeah,
Heineke.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And the Ohio State receiving combo makes me sick. But you gotta like McLaurin and Samuel.
Yeah.
As 2-year guys, like McLaurin's
really good.
So good.
He's really
sure-handed.
He's
really
so
sure-handed.
He's really good. Yeah. Him and Deebo Samuel are like have similarities to their games in a lot of ways. I find.
I think I think Curtis Samuel. I mean,
Deebo Samuel like strikes a little bit more fear into my heart.
No, yeah, I'm talking I'm talking Deebo. I know Deebo's like bigger and stronger. I think of like McLaurin and Deebo and AJ Brown. I know AJ Brown's hype is out of control now, but they're like three guys who are like it could go any which way. They're going to be really solid for their careers, or they're going to blow up and be like wide receiver ones. Like, and if I had to bet, like McLaurin has the ability to kind of be that guy, even though he's a little undersized.
Yeah.
And if you get a good, although like Fitz can put up numbers, but like if you end up paired up with a good quarterback.
And it could have. Sorry, not to like make it an Ohio State thing, but like it could have been Dwayne Haskins as their quarterback throwing it to Samuel and McLaurin, right? Just crazy how that all works, but.
Big win getting him off the team, though.
Yes, huge win. That is
not a Ron Rivera guy. He would not have been vaxxed. I'll tell you that right now.
I would have to agree. I like this team. I mean, I wish they could come up with a team name to replace their racist one that they had before, but I guess Washington football team works for now.
I'm kind of in on football team. Like it feels like soccer a little bit, right? Like the FC. Like, are we gonna say FT at some point?
WFT. I don't know. Yeah. All right. I can listen to that. Like Dan Snyder, obviously deplorable human being.
Yeah.
But Washington being good is fun, right? Like they have. I feel like they're good for a Monday nighter, like a good Monday nighter every year, or a good Sunday nighter, like. Fitzpatrick out there flinging balls, like either throwing picks or throwing touchdowns. Like, I'm in. I certainly don't like any of the other three teams, so let's go with Washington.
This defense is going to give him a lot of chances too. If he has the ability to make some mistakes more than he's had in probably any other stop in his career.
Yeah. Boom. Anything else on Washington?
I think Bo's optimism being rooted in the defense is not far-fetched, and I think it's totally reasonable. I agree that their ceiling as a defense is top of the league kind of ceiling. I think they're well coached. I like some of the pieces on offense. I don't think their offense is quite there yet, though, to be like lethal. I also like I like the tight end who they also just inked. Logan Thomas. I think he's actually really solid. Like he's kind of just like his career is just starting, even though he's like in his 30s. But I like him.
Yeah. He's sneaky been in the league a while.
Yeah, like I don't know what his deal. You never know with tight ends, right? He could have been a fencer previously.
he played quarterback at Virginia Tech when Michigan played them in the Sugar Bowl, and he looked at Andre the Giant taking snaps. I remember that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we got you here, Cap.
Well,
Scott must have hit the under that game.
The luckiest win in Michigan's career, or in the last 10 years for Michigan, and it also falsely sent them that they were on like a path to doing anything good, and then they just started sucking again, even though they should have lost that game. Whatever.
God, I love a quarter.
I'm a little surprised you're not as high on Antonio Gibson. Any reason why?
I think he's a really good pass catcher for a running back. I guess I'm just trying to kind of temper expectations because I feel like the whole world is like really on him right now, and I want to see a little more first. I think there's a lot of dynamic running back athletes, and he's solid for sure, but we'll see. I'm just not like over the moon for him yet. I got to see more. And I think I've seen both sides of Fitzpatrick, right? Yeah,
true.
Like I was cheering for him and Jameis in tandem one season, and he was awesome for those 4 games. But I also saw that he's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that was over 2 seasons ago. So like as we've talked about Daniel Jones being the big question mark for New York, like I'm kind of processing as you're talking. I would rather have Daniel Jones playing quarterback for my team. Yeah, because I think he has a higher, I'd rather it be a younger player who has some promise potentially to go one way. I guess Washington needs to win games like they're planning to win games right now. I guess I'm just not sold. Like it sounds like listening to myself.
I think that's what it is for me for Washington. It's like it's beyond a make or break year for them. It's basically saying we have this incredible defense. We need to win. Like we need to start winning some games this year. Like they're basically throwing a year of development away with their quarterback position. Not really addressing it at all.
Like it depends how much forward thinking you are and how much it's all about right now. Because it doesn't seem like they're offering much of a solution considering how young and talented their D is, and even some of their offensive players are. Like I'm a little surprised they didn't address the quarterback position a little more drastically. But we'll see. Like that defense is vicious. Like you guys said, they felt like the closest team to knocking off the Bucs next to the Packers in the postseason. Like Tampa was kind of on their heels a little bit. It was a slugfest. It was an ugly game, that wild card game. We'll see what happens. I mean, they're probably the best team in the division. I would agree. And
DVOA, I'm just looking it up in the background here. Even though they're only 7 or 9, they're ranked 3rd by defense in DVOA. Like
filthy defense.
They're really good.
And
literally third on defense, 32nd on offense.
Yeah. So like the first thing I said when you asked me, I was like, I don't know if the offense is quite there yet, right? Like I'm not seeing enough to like I do believe it's awfully difficult to be successful in the NFL even if you're great in one area, but you're not.
No, horrible in the other area. Yeah. Like not competent. Yeah.
They had like no continuity at quarterback last year, right? Like fucking like Taylor Heineke was a starter in the playoff game, and say a little about Fitzpatrick, he's better, and they still actually. You just have to win the division. Yeah. You just have to be better than the other 3 teams. You don't need to be super high on them in order for them to make the playoffs. It's just the way it's all worked. I hear you, Call. I see what you mean for sure. But if that offense catches up even a little bit, like 20s, they're good.
Like mid-20s offense, they're a much better team.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel is a great joystick weapon to bring up.
Pickup.
I really like him.
Yeah.
And again, they're well coached. I think Fitzpatrick and Ron Rivera is a nice little pairing there of 2 like mature, intelligent guys. I'll tell you this: Fitzpatrick is not starting every game for them, and he's gonna be a healthy on the bench with a headset, and Heineke's gonna come in or something. Because I just will tell you he's gonna hit some ruts, and if they're in win now mode, which it sounds like you believe they are, and I think most people do, then they're gonna have to make a change if they want to, win in the immediate future. Because at some point. Fitzmagic or Fitzpatrick will show his inconsistency.
Yeah, honestly, like, I think especially looking at where their defense is right now, I think this was like a dark horse team for me that moved up for Justin Fields.
Perfect.
That would have changed, like, absolutely changed everything here. And we're talking about this is a challenging for the NFC East type of team, but
would have been perfect.
Justin Fields would have been perfect on this team. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think like that more or less I think sums up Washington football team. Scott, did you have anything additionally you want to add about this squad, or are you feeling you got some numbers you want to talk to us about of a different variety?
Not too much. I like them. I like them. We'll see what happens. I don't love them, but I like them, and I like them enough in this division. That's about it.
Cool. Well, in terms of how this division shakes out, I have my predictions. I have Washington winning the division at 10-7. I have the Giants and Dallas both finishing at 8-9, and I have the Eagles at 5-12. In that order. That's kind of my predictions. So I don't know what you guys have to share with us.
I'm basically the exact same as you. I've got Washington winning. Just like I think I had them like 11-6. I think Dallas, or no, sorry, not Dallas. The Giants I had at maybe 9-8, and then Dallas at like 7-10, and then I thought the Eagles were going to be horrible. 14. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Eagles bad too, like 4-13 kind of thing. So from the top, I'll barely give the nose, like have Dallas nose ahead of Washington. Both one of them 11-6 or 10-7, but both right there. I'll take the Giants to actually just creep under 500, 8-9, like Collin had. For the record here, guys, if you guys want to, I have the over-unders here if you want to hear them. So Dallas, the over-under is 9.5. The Giants are 6.5. So
there's some value there.
Yeah, there's some value. Although they must be worried about everyone hating the coach. The Eagles at 6.5, and the under is plus 120. Like
everyone loves Philly. If you put Philly at like 3.5, then like all of Philadelphia would be mortgaging their houses on that. We might have a real estate crisis specifically located in that city.
But getting that juice at plus 120 under the 6.5, like they could be not even as bad as I think they're going to be and go like 6-11, and you win that bet. Like, okay, sign me up.
Yeah.
And the last one is Washington, who are at 8.5. So basically projected rate as a 500 team. Kind of just depends on who you like, and yeah. So like I said, I would just give Dallas the slight nod, even though could never trust them. And
best bet is Eagles under 6.5. Like
I think so.
Yeah, like if anything, we've kind of talked our way into that collectively here by just breaking these teams down, right? It's a helpful process, if not for anything other than that, to get a read about how we feel, and we're all under that. Like it seemed like you guys were surprised I had the Eagles winning 5 games, and that's still under the line by a game and a half.
So
maybe we should bet on that so we have a reason to talk about the Eagles every week.
So yeah, guys, here's the division odds: Dallas plus 110, Washington plus 260.
Whoa,
Eagles and the Giants are plus 450. Like
I would like a taste on the Giants. Like I'm having trouble putting Washington even that much ahead of the Giants because I'm starting to. We've talked myself into them a little bit.
I don't mind that. I think the Giants' defense is a step back, but not a huge step back from Washington's.
Well, and the offense is potentially advanced too. Like they are very close. Those two teams are comparable. That's the matchup I'm most excited to see. Actually, is the Giants versus football team. I hope Dak's healthy because obviously in that case, like that offense could be pretty prolific, and like Cap obviously has them winning, as does Vegas. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll certainly all be watching because we'll have no choice. That will be the NFC East, as it is every year. So hopefully we get some excitement. Hopefully Devonta Smith is playing for the Eagles. And hopefully you enjoyed listening to us banter, as we do here at Bucks Banter, discussing the NFC East. and some of the players we like, those we don't like, the coaches we don't like, Scott. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Bucks Report for our live show this coming Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. As I said off the top, please check us out on Twitter at Bucks Banter, but most importantly, our YouTube channel. If you could like and subscribe what you are seeing and listening to, that is the most helpful. Thank you very much for listening. Go hard, go deep, go Bucks.